Hello everybody, thank you for watching our video. This is Jimmy Wu from Prowork Pacific Inc, your licensed architect. If you like our channel, you can give us a like and also share with your friends. And also, if you want to catch up with our other video, you may subscribe us so you won't miss all the other videos. Today, I want to talk about a different type of topics besides house, because many customers come to ask me, say, Jimmy, you always talk about a house. How about the people we live in condominium? In fact, in Honolulu, most people live in condo. A lot of people, like middle class, they live in condo, and they also looking for, can we do something? Can we renovate our condo unit? And what should we know about, if we want to renovate our condo unit? So today, I want to talk about that. Now, first of all, condominium, what some people call apartment, right? But we just say using condo. Condo unit is different from houses. Houses is considered as residential project. However, condominium is considered as commercial project. Now, in other words, if you want to obtain a building permit for your work, for your construction, or renovation inside your unit, your permit will be considered or reviewed as a commercial project, which will be involve more reviewer, like architect, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer. Also review. Not only that, it's also whoever like engineer work involved. Now, when you do a house permit, you can have only architect to draw your whole house, and DPP does not require mechanical engineer or electrical engineer or like mechanical joint, electrical joint in that set. However, if you have a condo unit, DPP will require mechanical joint, electrical joint, or at least they show mechanical and electrical on your joint, and with the engineer architect stamp on the joint as well. So that will be like more. This is a very tricky part, because even you do a little work, and you will still, when you go to a commercial project, you will still require that. And also because the commercial project, then you will expect, when you submit for permit, regular way, you will expect a longer time for permitting. Now, we don't talk about, this time we don't talk about third party. Sure, you can choose with third party review, which will help you to save a lot of time. But this one, we just put on the side on the next topic. But this one, I just talk about the project by itself, the category as considered as commercial. Now, also when you people live in different project or different location. Now, some location you got to be careful. Now, if your building, if your condominium is inside some special district, for example, Waikiki is a special district. We have some special district in town, Punch Bowl, Diamond Head. Waikiki, this is, even Chinatown, those some different special district, and they have different rule or requirement to about, when you're doing a project, even including you're doing a condo. Besides DPP requirement, also is your condominium AOAO requirement. That is something beyond DPP requirement. A lot of new apartment, new condo, the AOAO, that means the apartment owner associate, something like that, right? That means the AOAO, they will have some design guideline or regulation, or they will request the owner, individual owner, if you want to do any work, they request you to submit for their permit first. For example, some owner, they want to enclose their lanai. They have a, like open lanai, and very commonly you will see people, they want to enclose it, become part of the interior, because they don't need that. So a lot of building, they request owner, they need to submit drawing to apply their building within the AOAO first, get the approval before they can go for the building permit. So this is some kind of special beyond the building permit. It's not say you just submit for building permit. You need to go through AOAO first. So if an owner, if you want to do some work to your condo unit, you need to check with your AOAO, or building management first. Do they have any guideline or any regulation, or require their own permit? Some of those new building, they will have some special requirement on, let's say, windows or even flooring. Flooring installation. For example, is wood flooring. Nowadays, engineered wood flooring is very common. The laminated wood flooring is very common, right? But a lot of new building, they have a special requirement to ask owner, when they install, they have to install certain thickness of the pad, which is said to reduce the sound transmission. Okay, so that is something that as a condo unit owner, before you work, you need to check with your AOL or project or building management. Now we talk about what kind of work you can do in your unit. Again, some work, okay, you may do it even without building permit, but you may need a permit from your AOL. For example, you can change flooring. Now, a lot of old buildings, they have carpet. A lot of people now, carpet is pretty outdated. I've been seeing that many people want, when they get a condo unit, they want to change to wood flooring. So changing flooring. But again, if your AOL require you to, have a special requirement, you need to check with your AOL. And also is because some apartment, some condo building is not that easy to install the laminated wood flooring or engineered wood flooring, because the concrete floor, we might not think about it, you might not believe that most of a high-rise building, the concrete floor is not flat, is up and down. So that's why old time they will use carpet instead of any hard flooring or tile and stuff, because carpet can easily lay on even uneven surface on the floor. But if you're doing a wood flooring, that will require more skill to install it. And also you can change your cabinet, the kitchen cabinet. Okay, and also changing cabinet. It doesn't different from you renovate your kitchen. Now this is different work. Changing cabinet is just in your cabinet, but you keep whatever your sink, stove, right? You don't move that. Okay, refrigerator, you just change the cabinet. Now again, cabinet, you don't need the building permit, but your AOL may require you to obtain one. So you got to check with your AOL again. Okay, so now this will be some architectural work. So besides flooring, you can change. Then also you can work on ceiling too. Now, in old time, a lot of old buildings, they have those popcorn ceilings that look very outdated. And a lot of owners say, hey, I want to take it away. Now, be careful on this, because all those old buildings, if the building is about around 1970s, those popcorn ceilings probably will have asbestos on that. So you need to check with your AOL and your management. Say, if you want to remove those popcorn ceiling, if there is asbestos, you will need to have a special contractor to remove for you. And another option is you just adding a chipboard, cover it, then without remove it. Okay, and then also because when you're doing ceiling, then people, some owner, they have an option to doing recessed light. So they can install some soffit. We so-called soffit is like a false ceiling on this, on your right now your concrete ceiling. So to getting some feature. So now this is also for architectural work, and also is you can also do is a window changing or repair. Now this got to be careful, because in a lot depends on how the building, your AOAO agreement is. Usually windows is regulated by your AOAO, because they usually have a rule, say if someone to change a window, because all the window got to be same type, right? Otherwise, look at the building, if every unit, everybody taking different type window, that will look very ugly, right? So usually changing window, is not an option to a building unless your AOAO really don't have that, regulation. Now again, maybe even your building doesn't have regulation, but if your building is in a special district, then like Waikiki or Diamond Head, then DPP will require you have the design guideline and require you follow that design guideline. So for window changing, usually without a AOAO approval, usually you can only do is repair or one-to-one replace to the same type of windows. So that is kind of part you gotta be careful. Now, some part is something easy or common. You will think very minor thing, but it's actually a red flag in condo. Is two things. One is adding air conditioning. One is adding washer and dryer. Now, many new owner, when they buy a unit, they want to add washer and dryer. Now that depends on your building. If your building has a common laundry in first floor, usually the AOAO regulations do not allow you to install your own. Okay, so you got to check with AOAO guideline. And also, even the AOL doesn't doesn't restrict you guys to add washer and dryer. You still have to, it will be still very challenging, because when you can try to get a permit for washer and dryer, it involves electrical, mechanical, right, plumbing. Okay, those are more complicated than just adding like architectural feature in your home. So then you sometimes you trigger, you need maybe an architect, engineer, and also you gotta, if you go third party review, you gotta pay more. So we have this situation. We will tell owner, if you want to add washer dryer and obtain a building permit for that, probably the fee you paid for the engineer to get your drawing done is more expensive than the washer and dryer. So, for owner, we always ask it, is that washer dryer is very important to you? You have to install it. Otherwise, we will tell them, think twice before, you want to install. Unfortunately, a lot of owners, they don't know that. So they just buy it and install until, AOL people or manager come on, hey, your downstairs unit complain about there is a bubble coming up from their sink, from the kitchen sink. Then they will find out you have, washer and dryer, and they start asking you for the permit. And a lot of time we will have difficulty, because when you put, for condo unit, very common, you put your washer dryer by your kitchen, right? But your pipe is all hooked up to the kitchen pipe, the drain pipe. But let me tell you this, your kitchen drain pipe usually only like couple inch, right? 2-inch pipe, and most cases it's not sufficient for washer and dryer, and also the electricity also. So that's something that will be, it's not just simple as adding a washer and dryer. It's more complicated. Okay, so if you want to really do it, you gotta be very careful. Adding air condition is also another issue. Now, if your building is old building, those only have one big meter to supply the whole building. That means your maintenance is include electricity. Then usually your AOL usually do not allow you or individual unit to install air conditioning, because the 1 meter to support the whole building, that meter, when the time they're doing the design in the beginning, they do not expect or they do not include the electrical load for AC. So imagine if everybody start installing AC and everybody turn on AC at nighttime together, it will trip your panel and trip your meter. So that is a thing that usually if your building, if your is a share meter, everybody have maintenance fee include electricity, then usually they will not allow you for that. Okay, and then again, even though you have separate meter for your condo unit and you want to apply for AC, now you still got to go through your AOL, and also AC is also involved with some plumbing and electrical. So then you may need electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, and architect for your project. So this is something you gotta watch out. And again, next project is a bathroom renovation, kitchen renovation, or retrofit. That again, because it involves like appliance, involve mechanical, electrical. So those work can be done. However, you need to have more drawings or more help from architect and design professional, engineer, to help you get the drawings done. Now, there is one very special case about condo is, I have some owner, they buy 2 units right next to each other, and they want to punch hole the in between 2 units to connect them together. Now, that is something you got to be very careful, because the wall between 2 units, sometimes there's a structural shear wall, and you cannot just punch hole. Or even you want to punch hole, you need structural engineer to do a special detail to reinforce that opening, or the opening can be limited. Now, even though that is not a structural wall, but yet between 2 units, that is still a fire-rated wall. So when you do a punch hole on that one, you need to get more work. I mean, more careful about a building code and fire code. So when we're doing this kind of project, don't just, okay, well, we're simple, we just cut off the wall. You need to go through your AOL, and you need architect professional to help you out on this drawing. So if you are interested to get renovation to your condo unit, welcome to contact us, so we can give you some advice. And thank you for watching today. Thank you very much.